the scars remind me to appreciate the days I don't have to.
Did you go anywhere this weekend? You didn't
No.
do any signings? No, it was a Thanksgiving weekend.
Yeah. How are you doing, Kalen?
I'm good.
All right. And Jim, I spoke to you a little bit last night, and I thought that we would talk today. I thought it'd be fun to talk about actors who got replaced in movies, just because there's a bunch of them actually out there. Jim and I talked about them last night. But before we do that, Kaylin asked me to watch a movie, and Taylor Sheridan wrote it. He didn't direct it, but it's got Jeff Bridges in it. What's it called?
Yeah, we've been talking a lot on this podcast about newer movies and how you're not a fan of them and how I am, but now I'm kind of starting to turn. Maybe I'm not. And so I was trying to think of a recent-ish movie that you would really enjoy. There's 3 in a row that Taylor Sheridan wrote that I think made him kind of who he is today. It's Sicario in 2015,
Yes.
Hell or High Water in 2016, and Wind River in 2017. And I thought you would really enjoy Hell or High Water. So I said, watch that movie and tell me if you don't like that as a kind of modern-ish movie.
Yeah, and I watched it, and, I liked it. First of all, it's got Jeff Bridges in it, which, he can do no wrong. Although the relationship that he had with the Indian that he was working with felt like they needed a little bit more dialogue than him calling him a silly Indian throughout, like, kind of the beginning of it. I thought that relationship, it felt like there could have been more there. And, spoiler alert, what happens to him.
Yeah.
And so, and I, and the two brothers, the thing about movies for me is it's got to have like a really good story. And as it turned out, they had a way of robbing banks and it all working out for one of the brothers, which I couldn't figure out. It had something to do with putting money in trust and taking all the money that they stole from these banks and put them in a trust. But that movie made me feel a little lonely, kind of like I felt like when I think of like West Texas, and it just makes me feel a little lonely, a little like, thank God I'm not like, I didn't have to live that life. And I'm not, it was well acted, it was well directed, and Ben Foster was in it, and Christopher Pine, is it Chris Pine? Yeah. They were great. I mean, whenever I go to movies, I'm going to see one tonight, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, Avatar.
Yeah.
I just got off the phone with Chris Murphy. Of course, Chris Murphy has already seen it. But anyway, yeah, we got the Avatar premiere tonight, and just to mention it again, when the movie opens on the 20th and 19th.
19th it comes out.
19th, Kayla and I are going to go down to Lightstorm, and we're all going to talk to Jim. And that's going to be there's an interview that Jennifer sent me about Jim that I haven't seen yet. So I'm kind of doing my research on him, and I want to try to hit him up on some stuff that people really don't talk to him about that much. And one of the reasons that I think he went to work for Meta. Not went to work for it, that he partnered with.
Yeah,
Meta.
Partnered up with, yeah.
It has to do with his knowledge of 3D. There's probably nobody in the world that has got more knowledge about 3D as in respect to filmmaking or content. And so I want to ask him about 3D and kind of how it started and where it is now. And I'll see tonight when I'm watching the movie, the effects, because, I asked Chris, and yes, you have to wear glasses. And, I'm just wondering if those images that I showed you earlier, Jim, which were taken by a camera that had two camera lenses,
Mm-hmm.
that has a depth of field to it that movies don't have. And even when you look it up on Google and they show you pictures, there still is no depth of field.
No.
And to me, if you could make a movie, like when you look inside of those things, you put the slide in, you push the button, the light goes on, and you look at it, and it's got a depth of field that I've never seen before and I've never seen after. And if you could make a movie that had that kind of depth of field, it seems like the technology was there back in like some, at least from a photographic standpoint, that you know from 1956 to 1959 they made these cameras, and I'll bring the pictures to show Jim and he can tell me. But wouldn't it be fun to see a movie that was like that? I've talked to Chris about the 3D in Jim's movie, and I think there are certain shots that are 3D, and a lot of the movie that's not, like the whole movie's not in 3D.
Yeah.
But it seems to me that if you can create a picture and a slide that you put in and light up and look through a viewfinder, and you can look at a picture that's 3D, I don't see why that can't be replicated. But Jim will know, and that'll be fun to.
It will be an interesting topic because you're right about those old devices, like those ViewMasters. You could look at a picture of that and feel like you could just walk through the scene, like it was right in front.
I mean, wouldn't it be cool if you could, if they made movies like that? I mean,
we were talking about it last week, but that is how the first Avatar felt to me. The second Avatar, again, I don't think I saw it on the right screen, but that's how the first Avatar felt to me.
That it had depth of field to it, the entire movie?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, maybe there were some scenes more than others. Like anytime that first time they were running through the forest, I was like, wow, I've never seen anything like this.
Or other creatures come after them.
First
well,
Avatar.
and even so, and if that's the case, and I'll see the movie tonight and everything, it does not have the depth of field of the kind of pictures that I was looking at. And I kind of wanted to ask Jim, where does 3D go from here?
Sure.
All right,
that's a good question.
We're at a spot now where he's using it all the time, and people are appreciating it. But like, it seems to me like, if you shot a full movie in 3D, if the entire thing was in 3D, it would just give you the sense of depth of field. And like, if you get away from having to wear the glasses that everybody always finds a little bit uncomfortable, and so anyway, that's I think what I'm going to open up with him about. And
I would imagine the cost of doing that, like Cameron, would be so high for a studio that they'd be hesitant to make it. I mean, obviously Cameron was able to do it with the Avatar movies, but if another studio has to replicate that on their own and they don't have Cameron, the amount of money they would have to spend on that would just be astronomical. I mean, right?
Well, but Meta, according to, and I didn't read the article well, and it's been a week or couple of weeks or whatever, but they hired Jim because of his expertise.
Yeah.
With I think one of the reasons that they didn't hire him, partnered with him.
Yeah.
Was because of his immense knowledge about 3D. And as Jim talked about in other interviews, there's going to be a new platform. There's going to be films, and there's going to be streaming, and then there's going to be these glasses that.
Right, and so this doesn't have to do with 3D, but I was listening to Rogan the other day, and he had Mark Zuckerberg on his podcast a little while ago, and I didn't hear this from him then, but he was saying recently that Mark off air brought him some of their new glasses that they have, and that. You apparently, like when you look at it, like the cursor that you see on a computer is your eyes.
Yes.
So you move that around, and you have like haptic things on your fingers, so you can go up and do things on the glasses while looking around with your eyes on it.
Yeah. Well, that's what Jim was talking about in one of his interviews. That is going to be a new platform, and I got the feeling from talking to him, and I'm probably repeating myself, but that. You can go to the movie theaters, you can watch it on streaming, or you can put on these glasses and you can go to YouTube, you can watch movies, you can watch sports, you can, you'll do everything that you normally can do with a screen. And I think that's where it's headed.
I feel like you would need those specialized cameras, though. Like, I feel like the content would need to be made specifically with those I mean, you'll ask Cameron, but like, you wouldn't be able to just turn on an NFL game that have the cameras they're using and have the depth of field compared to the cameras.
I'm talking about two different things here.
Okay.
The depth of field is one thing.
Yeah.
But the other thing is Jim talking about there's a third platform now. The third platform is going to be these glasses where you can watch football, where you can go to YouTube, where you can write emails, where you can do your text, where you can do everything that you do with a phone.
Yeah.
So you won't have a phone. And it seems to me, and I could be wrong, but why, I'm not sure why you're going to have to use your fingers when everything's kind of voice reacted anyway. You could just say, look, I want to watch Avatar. Okay. Okay. I want to, watch the Bears game. I want to send a text to Kalen. Voice activated.
Well, actually, yeah, that's something, again, on Rogan. Elon Musk was on Rogan recently, and they were talking about AI, and Rogan said, where do you think, like, the future's going? And Elon said, I don't think you're going to have the phone. I don't think you're going to have keypads. Right. You're just going to talk. Yeah. You're just going to tell the AI what you want, and it's going to do it for you.
Yeah, that's what I would think, too.
Yeah.
That's what I would think, too. Anyway, so I'm excited about seeing the movie, and I'm very, very excited about talking to him because I kind of want to hit him up with some, not only that, but and also somebody said, I haven't seen one of the newest interviews that he did, but he talks about, like, if you ask him about AI, if people ask Jim about AI, he's like, I don't, I'm not, I made a movie, but I'm not an AI expert or whatever. But I got a feeling, Jim, I always have the feeling that people are always trying to put, I think Jim knows quite a bit.
Yeah.
Really, really quite a bit. And when he did the interview with Gale a year ago, when they were talking about how they got the Terminator made on the 40-year anniversary of Terminator, towards the end of it, I'm going to go back and look at it. I'm going to have all my questions for him. And he started talking about AI and how it was being used by countries as far as, combat and warfare.
Yeah.
And, So it'll be interesting to try to dig in.
You made a comment on something he said not long ago about, he said, I'm always going to write my scripts. I'm always going to hire actors to, flesh out these roles. But you said he didn't mention other aspects of filmmaking where he would use AI. He said, I'm not going to use AI to write my scripts. I'm not going to use AI for the performances. But you said he didn't rule out using AI in other aspects of his filmmaking.
He did. It's not that he didn't say, I'm not ruling it out.
Yeah, I know
that. He just happened to be in a conversation, and he said, I'm always going to write my story. I'm always going to write my story, and I always want to have that story. I want to have the relationship and the what's the word I'm looking for when you collaborate with an actor or an actress to make that work. That's kind of like where my stick is in the mud, or whatever that saying is. That's where
my stick is in the mud.
That's not the right word.
That's not exactly like planting your flag, but my stick.
That's my version. My stick is in the mud.
Version.
That's my entire life.
Stick in the mud.
Everybody else has been planting their flag. I've been
nobody tells me anything,
Everybody else has been,
They're stake in the ground.
They're stake in the ground. Yeah. My stick in the mud. Yeah, that's me, all right. So anyway, I'm very excited to talk to him, and I want to hit him up with some things that, like, people really haven't asked him about, and I want to kind of dig into. Or you might not know about AI, but let's just have a little bit of fun talking about it. And
well, especially since
another thing that I'll say to him, and I'm not like going to try to trip him up or whatever, but I'm going to say, does the 7 minutes and 15 seconds. Does that mean anything to you? 7 minutes and 15 seconds. And I'm sure you don't know what I'm talking about, and I'm sure Jim doesn't know what I'm talking about. But when they were doing all that underwater stuff, they would have to train themselves. And there's a certain way, I guess you train yourself for oxygen that you can stay underwater. And the person that stayed under the longest was the girl from Titanic.
Kate Winslet?
Kate Winslet. 7 minutes and 15 seconds underwater.
Wow.
Can you imagine that?
Crazy.
Yeah. So I
Good
think
Lord, I don't think underwater, like
Yes.
there's no breathing apparatus, right?
Yes.
I don't think I could go a minute.
No, I don't think these days I'm probably right around a minute. But yes,
Yeah.
7 minutes and 15 seconds. And he could probably explain a little bit of that. But,
Good Lord.
we'll wait till we get to Jim to talk about him. I was
Good Lord. I
talking
mean,
to Jim
usually
last-
without oxygen, without oxygen, you
without
your brain
oxygen.
starts shutting down in less than a minute. you
Well,
know, and you'll
there's
die in 4 or 5.
there's obviously some way that they train.
Yeah,
and they
yeah,
can train your
clearly.
body. You train your body to, and I'm sure that all the Navy and the SEALs, and all those people have trained for that kind of stuff also.
Like pearl divers, in the southeast or southwest Pacific, they were known for being able to dive down for 5-6 minutes at a time. But those are people who really had done that all their lives,
Well,
so they had.
and if that and there might be some.
I mean, Kate Winslet was no pearl diver.
I mean, there's definitely techniques and stuff that they
You
use.
don't know that, Jim.
Yeah. Not in the sense I was thinking.
Yeah, they train Navy SEALs and stuff with those kind of techniques. I just looked it up because I wanted to see how long he spent underwater, and in 2008, David Blaine did it for 17 minutes.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, but David Blaine is a
Yeah, he's a magician, but he's still a guy that has just figured out that there is a way to train your body to stay underwater for like a hell of a lot longer than the average person walking.
Yeah, but
around.
I have a little bit harder time believing he did it for 17 minutes than Kate Winslet doing it for 7. Just because he's like a master of like making you think that he's doing
He's
something
a master
right,
of illusion.
Yeah, but
And usually there's a trick somewhere, but
Yes.
that's magic. So
yes,
Mhm.
yes, yeah,
don't ask.
yeah. So anyway, we got the screening tonight, which would be
Do
fun.
you
And,
do you think Jim envisions using 3D anymore in the future? I mean, is he going to do Ghosts of Hiroshima in 3D? You have any indication?
I can ask him about that. I mean, I think that and that gets back to this conversation that we're having earlier. That when asked about AI, Jim said, I'm writing my script, and I am collaborating with an actor, and that that's where he's going to stick his stick. But what and in that conversation, it wasn't like he said he wasn't going to be using set designers. It wasn't like he wasn't going to be using
I know that.
DPs. I'm not going to be doing this. But he just didn't go, and I'll need this, and I'll need that, and I'll need this, and everything else can be AI. He just happened to mention the relationship of writing the word and collaborating with an actor. That was kind of like, and it felt the way that he said it was like a last stand. I mean, I truly believe, I talk to people about it, the whole AI thing all the time, and the people are like, well, I'm not going to want to watch something that's AI that is, I'd rather watch like real people do it. I'm like, you're not going to fucking know the difference. Hey, you really think you're going to know the difference? Between how and Kayla and I have talked about this before, and Kayla, well, And music-wise too, I've heard musicians now. I heard Paul McCartney talking about him, I think, singing one of the Beach Boys songs, which is out there. And
really?
He says, it's out there. It's not him singing it, but it's him singing. I mean, he never sat down and recorded it, but it's him singing one of the Beach Boys songs. Now, he said in this interview that I just watched, he said, I can tell that it's not me, but most people wouldn't be able to. And he said, hey, in a year from now, I probably wouldn't even, be able to. He just knows he never sang the fucking song.
Yeah,
he never recorded it,
He would remember, yeah.
So you're going to be able to take any artist. And I've also heard this too, which is kind of interesting, is that like you could take me who can't sing a lick. I mean, just absolutely can't sing anything, and take my voice and I don't know, go through some linguistic gymnastics, and they can take your voice and then turn around and like do any song with it. I think I've seen companies that are advertising, oh, you want to be a singer? You want to hear what you sound like? You want to sound like Sinead O'Connor? Here, we can do that for you. It's crazy. It's crazy from a standpoint of artists, especially artists are, it's hard for, it's hard for me. I understand, okay, this is a Rembrandt and this is a copy of the Rembrandt, and they look exactly the same. They're exactly the same, but this is the copy. I understand that. But if you take that and then you switch them without people looking, how are they going to tell the difference? That's the same thing with movies and TV and everything. People are not going to know what's AI and what's not AI. People are probably already looking at like background players in certain television commercials and things like that are just AI. So anyway, I wasn't going to talk. I go down this AI hole all the time. And,
well, it's such a lingering part of our future, and it's basically kind of what's propping up our economy now. Most all of the new investment in our economy is toward AI. I suspect there's a bubble forming.
I thought the AI companies just took a big hit last week. I thought I'd read that the AI companies all, because there's so many of them, they took a big hit, and Bitcoin took a big hit over the last a few weeks or so. But,
but AI investment is still the biggest source of investment in this country at the moment, with all of those data centers that they're building. Those massive data centers, and needing to generate more electricity. They're building nuclear power plants just to run data centers.
Like Elon Musk telling like states, like, that city doesn't need any electricity. I need it.
I need it. I'm going to build my own nuclear reactor and generate my own. Well, that's definitely true. They're building a bunch of them over in Saudi Arabia because they have all that oil. They have access to the energy they need to generate electricity. So,
the whole going over and working in Saudi Arabia. I'm waiting, for the first signings that they do over in Saudi Arabia, because I think they're
Dubai.
Well, because first it started off with the whole golf thing, Jim. You'd know more about that than I would. But was it Phil Mickelson that basically kind of promoted the idea of a new golf
league?
Yeah, it's called the Live Tour, LIV.
And you said that's kind of fallen apart.
Well, it's never made any money, and they've spent at least more than $1 billion so far out of the Saudi sovereign fund, what they call the PIF, Private Investment Fund. And it was seen in the golf world as sort of a way to sport wash the Saudi regime, you know, and they basically dangled a bunch of money in front of people like Phil Mickelson and Dustin Johnson and Bryson DeChambeau and Brooks Koepka, kind of some of the brighter stars on the PGA Tour a few years ago, and lured them away. And Phil
Well,
Mickelson was a leader among that group, and
a lot of
you know,
infight, a lot of fighting about it, right?
a lot of it, yeah, a lot of really
Well, I
bitter,
think that also that
bitter fight.
there was a group of comedians, including Bill Burr, that
Yeah.
went over there about a month ago or 2 months ago or something like that, and there was a lot of.
It was all the biggest comedians in the world. It wasn't Bill. It was Bill Burr. It was Louis C.K. It was Dave Chappelle. It was everybody, pretty much.
Right. You know, well, I think there was a little bit of backlash, but you know, my feeling about it is, well, you go fuck yourself, man. Go to Dubai to do comedy. Why not? You know, and boy, that what do they call him? The prince or whatever of
MSB.
Yeah, boy, that guy
Yeah.
when he's sitting next to Trump, he was
Yeah.
the one who cut up that reporter.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That Washington.
But boy,
Post columnist.
he's a fucking scary he's a scary looking dude.
And he held his own relatives hostage in a hotel so he could take over the government. I mean, he took it over when he was in his 30s.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so yeah,
I don't
he's a piece of work. that
Yeah,
guy.
well,
Yeah.
when he was sitting next to Trump, I just couldn't take my eyes off of him. I'm like, I played bad.
I couldn't either.
I played bad guys before, but this motherfucker, Jesus, you know.
And the reporter asked Trump about, do you think it's appropriate to be, entertaining this guy who chopped up a reporter? Trump said he didn't know nothing about that. He didn't know anything about that.
Listen, the whole thing of like, all right, he chopped somebody up, but let's not like act like America hasn't chopped up a couple 100,000 people and like
that's Trump's that was Trump's answer. Hey, stuff happens.
yeah, shit happens. Like in Iraq, you know,
Mm-hmm.
150,000 civilians dead in Iraq, and inglorious sort of. Anyway, don't want to get it. Wouldn't want to start talking about politics.
No.
I thought it would be fun though.
You're off of that. Yeah.
Kaylin, I thought it'd be fun for me to take my favorite liberal, who is Jim, and my favorite conservative, which is
good
Chris,
luck, Jim.
which is
Chris Murphy.
Chris Murphy, and have you guys debate on the podcast, and I would be like the
moderator.
I'd be the moderator.
That would be fun. We should do that for shits and giggles.
Yeah, do that. Yeah, get Chris back on again.
Right? Yeah, and
when you told me you're going to Avatar tonight, and he's already seen it.
Yes, of course. He went in as Michael Biehn. He's already like, so I'm Michael Biehn. Here's my ticket. He's an operator. He is a total operator. That's why he was such a good wingman, back in the day. Yeah, he's already seen it.
I believe that he went in as Michael Biehn. Yeah, that sounds like the way Chris would have done it. Yeah.
Anyway, I wanted to talk today a little bit about some of the movies, just because I was involved in Aliens, and I was telling this story. I was listening to the story that we put up recently about me and Bill, and I actually got that call from Gail on Thursday. I didn't go to work on Friday. I went to work on the following Monday, but Remar. Got busted, and I knew that they were shooting the movie, but I, like nothing.
Had you ever talked to Jim or Gail about being in that movie?
No.
Yeah, right. They
No.
never approached you,
No.
but yeah,
No.
exactly. So
I think it was. I think maybe kind of from the beginning, Walter Hill might have been, because he had him in the Warriors. And
He had Remar in a couple of movies.
yeah,
He
48
did like a
hours.
regular
Is it
48 hours.
48
the Eddie
hours.
Murphy, Nick Nolte movie.
Yeah, which
played
is a really good movie. And
Yeah,
Cotton,
yeah. And they
Club.
made a sequel to it, another 48
And
hours.
Cotton Club, which is, I think that somebody might have had better billing in it than him, but that story was really about the character that Remar played.
He played a gangster, didn't he?
He played Bugsy or something.
Dutch Schultz.
Dutch Schultz, yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
And
the character that
was that
Dustin Hoffman plays in
Coppola?
Billy
Did Coppola direct that?
Yeah, he did.
Wow.
Yeah, that was the famous. Well, I mean, the story behind the story is almost more interesting than the movie.
It was all funded
because
by cocaine, like
yeah,
you know.
and
Eddie Nash was the producer on that, wasn't he?
Well, no, but it was two brothers, the Dumanian brothers, who were like casino owners in Vegas, Ed and Fred Dumani, who put up the money for it, and they were giving Evans a tough time about what's happening to our money. And then Evans tried to get some money raised with a producer from New York who wound up getting whacked by a cocaine dealer, which is what's called the Cotton Club murders. And Evans got caught up in that and had to keep his distance, did his best to keep his distance from it. But yeah, I mean, it's the murders behind the Cotton Club are really more interesting than the movie itself.
Yeah, I can't think of too many other movies that have got like murders. That's real creative differences there. When you have to put somebody down, that's what I call creative difference.
This woman cocaine dealer had kind of put Evans in touch with a producer from New York named Roy Radin, and Roy apparently had access to money. And they were going to partner up to do Cotton Club and give her, and Radin only wanted to give her like some finder's fee, and she wanted to be a producer. She wanted a producer credit on the movie, and she wound up killing him, having him killed.
Because he didn't give her a producer credit?
Because she wasn't going to get a producer credit.
You know what? It seems to me, especially these days, that a producer credit, like if you're going to, here, take, how many millions are you bringing? Yeah, here, take a producer's credit. Because now you'll see a movie and there'll be like 30 producers on it anyway. So yeah, that to me, that's always been
Or I mean, it's a joke even. I've seen joke versions of this where a movie starts and you'll see about 12 different company logos. A
Yes.
Lionsgate production of a Lakeshore film of a Reliance finance entity, and just you get one after another after another. The last movie that John Watson produced, but remember talking to John, had 41 producers listed on it.
Right.
That's and they were basically people who were executives at companies who had some hand in financing or distribution of the movie and really had nothing to do with putting the movie together or overseeing its production. Nothing like that at all. So yeah, the producer credits become pretty profligate these days.
Nobody was replaced on that movie. So, but we were talking about Remar.
Yeah,
and Remar had a pretty good career going on, and he was handled by an agent. You know Hildy Gottlieb, right?
Oh, hell yeah.
And she was married to Walter Hill, and that was their guy. So
Rick Rossovich was represented by Hildy. He talked about her.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
And I think Bill Paxton possibly could have been
at one time. I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, and so he's over. They're over there. They're making the movie. I'm aware that they're making the movie, but I don't think I'd ever even
none
read
of your
the
business
script.
at that point, really. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm working at that time in my life. I was working quite a bit, and luckily I was available at the moment that Gail called me, and she said, "We're going to have to replace Remar. Can you come over?" And that was on a Thursday. And like I said before, I was on the set on Monday. I made a mistake when I was talking about
As I
song.
recall, her first words to you were, "How's your passport?"
Yes, yeah. Is your passport up to date? Yeah, and so I did that, and I've heard, and I could ask James about this, but and I've had lunch with James before, and we've never really talked specifically about what happened, but I think I got the feeling from him when I was in Hawaii doing a show. He was in Hawaii doing a show, and we had lunch once. I kind of had the feeling that he felt that Jim and Gail didn't really have his back when it came to this drug bust that happened when they found drugs in his room. And you know, here's the situation. Like I talked to you last night, Jim, about the fact that you take somebody like Tommy Sizemore, who I was working with, and you know, he went to work one day, and the next day he's up in Bakersfield, and he gets busted with like cocaine or heroin.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you bail the guy out. You know, he finishes the movie. He's got a court date a month later, 2 months later, and he hires lawyers and that whole thing.
And agrees
And
to do rehab or something like that.
I think that there might have been a feeling, and I can't really. This is just my gut. There might have been a feeling that, and I also listened to the way that Rico Ross talks about his friendship and about the way that he was playing the character that was gruff, you know, kind of real down and dirty.
Yeah.
And I've told you before about the fact that after a week or two of shooting, Jim said, "Hey, well, watching dailies and that smile of yours is great, you know, like keep it in mind, you know, because we love it." I think one of the very first times I see, the very first time I think I see Sigourney, no, we see her at breakfast or whatever. But the very first time I see her doing anything important is when she's moving that big loader around at the beginning, like in that box that she ends up fighting the alien with in the end. And you know, I look at it and I look over to the sergeant and I'm like kind of laughing about it, like, oh my God,
Yeah.
you know, look at this is kind of crazy, you know. And I don't know, there's something about my approach or something about the way that Jim wrote that script. I have a feeling that, as it turned, you know, I just have a feeling that that role needed a little bit of a lighter touch, a little bit more of a
banter.
There was a lot in that movie too that I brought to that was me being protective, not only of her but of Newt. And there's a scene, for instance, where we're all sitting around and we're looking at the maps. You know, these things are coming from here and they're going there, and somebody's going to have to get in a tube. And I think in the script they had Newt kind of on the ground, like kind of jumping up and down, like trying to see like what was going on.
Right.
And I said to Jim at the time, I can remember this, Jim, do you mind if I pick up Newt and put her on the table so she can see what's going on? You know, good idea, Michael. Yeah, go ahead and do that. So there was a lot of like that kind of, and I don't know. Also, it's hard for me to really remember, like when I'm working with Sigourney and she's, I say, here, I want you to put this thing on. It's like a bracelet or something like that, or a ring, or I've forgotten what it was. And she goes, here, now I've got a tracker. Now I know where you are. And then I say this, and she's like, oh, you know. And she says something, and then I say, well, this doesn't mean we're engaged or anything, you know. And so there was always sort of this flirtatious thing that went on. And when I'm showing her the gun, well, I don't think you should mess with that. Well, I can handle myself. Then again, this smile, yeah, I know. And so I think there might have been there might have been. I think it might have, as Rico said, it might have kind of worked out for the best. And but this got us talking last night about other actors who have been replaced, and I think that I had heard that was Remar's third strike with Hildy. You know, there might have been some other things that really nobody ever heard about, but and I think that Hildy dropped him at that point.
Is that right?
And I've heard him say that he didn't really work for Walter Hill again for 10 years after that, and although I think he sobered up very quickly after that.
I think he did, yeah. I saw him, maybe a year ago or so in an interview talking about that. He said that the fact that he was, a foreigner who got caught made it really easy for them to kick him out of the country. He said in those days it was a real, war on drugs, just say no, etc. And these days you'd get kind of a slap on the wrist and, go to court and be sent to rehab, promise to do rehab or something like that.
I saw that I saw that same thing that you're talking about, Jim. And I just am not sure that that the English government said to Jim Cameron and Gail Hurd, that actor has to go.
Yeah. Well, I don't know either. We don't. But that was sort of
somehow
his position.
When I spoke to James, I was sort of of the impression that he felt like Jim didn't have his back. I think there was another story too where Remar had gone over. I went over and I had dinner with Gail and Jim at the place that they were staying in that was in Slough. And
they stayed there, huh?
Yeah, they stayed in Slough. And I remember having dinner with them, and I think Jim might have told me at that time too that that Remar had been over there for dinner and kind of like nodded off on
in
them,
the middle of dinner.
which is probably something
on the nod.
He's on the nod. Probably not something that you want to do with Jim
No, I don't
Cameron.
think so.
And I also, it makes me wonder also about performances and people who use substances, and makes me wonder, about some of his early work, like Cotton Club, like
48 Hours.
48 Hours, and the other one, the Warriors.
Yeah, Warriors.
Whether he was high on heroin when he was shooting that. Well, maybe we can get him in here and he can tell us his full drug. The poor guy now, I'm sure that every time he does an interview, it's like the very first thing they say to him, so what happened with the whole aliens? So it's like Eric Stoltz. And Eric Stoltz, Jim and I were talking about this last night, Caitlin. Eric Stoltz, of course, was the lead in Back to the Future. And what I really don't understand is that they shot with Eric Stoltz for like 2 months. Is that right, Jim? 2 months? And
pretty close to that. Somewhere in the neighborhood of 6 to 8 weeks they had shot.
You would think that if you hired, first of all, they had to cast him, so he had to have done something in the auditions. They had any actor of that age in the city or in the country, they had access to hiring them. Anybody would want to work for Spielberg. Was Spielberg already at that point? Zemeckis and
and Zemeckis had done Romancing the Stone, so he was a desirable director to work with for any actor at that point.
Yeah, so
a month and a half, 5 to 6 weeks before he was replaced.
5 to 6 weeks. Yeah. All right. Well, 5 to 6 weeks is kind of like what they did on Tombstone. I mean, does it really take 6 weeks for you to decide, gee, this guy isn't as funny or as fun as we thought he was going to be?
That's half the movie.
It is half the movie.
Yeah.
I mean, it is the movie. And it feels like Eric Stoltz kind of like, I'm sure that Eric Stoltz, if you asked him now, although they had to pay out his contract, of course, I'm sure that Eric Stoltz said, like, I wish I never met fucking Zemeckis. I wish I had
Bob
nothing to
Zemeckis,
do with
yeah,
that,
really.
because being fired really is what it is. Being fired, but being released, and you can call it what you want. You can call it creative differences, but you're very rarely ever going to see an actor who kind of walks off the show and says, I don't want to do this. Replace me. That, first of all, you have a contract that you can't do that. You get sued if you do something like that. So,
well, not to mention your hireability goes downhill drastically at that point.
Well, that's the thing about Eric Stoltz, and I believe that maybe it was you that told me, Jim, that that he was always a little flummoxed by the fact that they cast him in it, because he's not a comedian. He's not known. He wasn't known for Anyway, you said that he had done Mummy, or not the Mummy, the thing with Cher, where
Peter Bogdanovich movie. Yeah, he had done Mask already.
Mask,
but he's in such heavy makeup.
Bogdanovich directed Mask.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Oh, okay. That was Cher. And was that Kurt? Was Kurt in Mask, or am I thinking of something else?
No, he was in
Sam
Silkwood
Elliott
with Cher.
Oh, Sam Elliott.
Yeah.
It was Sam Elliott. Yeah. Okay. Well, Sam's back in the news, back doing Taylor Sheridan.
Landman.
Yeah,
Landman, which I watched.
He's been in a couple of Taylor Sheridan productions now, because he was in the 1883 version of Yellowstone too, I believe.
Well, he was in the 1883 part of Yellowstone, and which I find fascinating about Sam is when he went out to do the press for it.
Pull that mic in a little bit.
When he went out to do the press for it, they asked him about doing it, and he referred to Yellowstone as being a kind of a soap opera. And that was like, oh my God, like, did he really say that? What would Taylor Sheridan think? Like a big faux pas, let's say. Okay.
Yeah.
And that, people were talking about that. And then like a week later, he was still doing on the same little press tour for Taylor Sheridan's show that he had just kind of dissed, I guess, maybe a little bit. I found it a little soapy myself. But
Quentin Tarantino says the same thing.
Quentin Tarantino said the same thing?
Yeah, he also said that about Yellowstone.
Yeah, I found it a little soapy too. But then...
it was very soapy. It was like a modern day version of Dallas.
Well, but
old...
I don't think that at the time, though, anybody was talking about it. I don't really think that if you're Taylor Sheridan or anybody else who's producing a movie or a TV show or anything that's successful, I mean, even the guys who did Dallas, I don't think that they would want, people calling their, soap operas are soap operas, and that there's a difference.
Well, they were primetime soap operas, is what they were called.
Right. Anyway, so he goes on and he talks a little bit more. This is Sam Elliott, of course, and they're asking him questions. And then he took a fucking shot at, I think it's the woman who directed Barbie, did a Western where the guys are all like wearing chaps and like nothing else. Do you know what I'm talking about? Do you know what movie that would have been? That what's her name?
Greta Gerwig.
Yeah, did she direct a movie that kind of had Western? Anyway, he takes a shot at. It was some big director. It was a female director, and he basically took a shot at that ain't any Western that that's not a Western that I want to be in. The chaps and the fucking butt sticking out the back, and and he kind of took a shot at that. And then she went after him, and so that little press tour for Sam Elliott was like, I didn't think really seemed to go over very well, and so I was a little surprised that like Taylor Sheridan would be like, "Look, come on back, man. Like come do Landman with us."
Oh, this is not Greta Gerwig, by the way. This
Who
is
was it?
This is a female director named Jane Campion,
Yeah,
who
oh,
directed
yeah.
a big
He's been
movie.
around for quite a while, yeah.
Yeah, a big movie a few years ago called The Power of the Dog.
Right.
Of a critic's darling, and I saw it. I thought it was enjoyable. But yeah, when you talk about westerns and that being a western, you could kind of see why Sam Elliott would be like, "Not for me, dog."
Yeah. But anyway, the whole Back to the Future thing is it surprises me that when you have Zemeckis and Spielberg and Gale, that they had to have been like right off the bat, they had to have been seeing. I would have thought that, you see, like these scenes aren't working. These scenes aren't working. You talked to me, Jim, yesterday about Woody Allen and the whatever Cairo. What was the name of that movie?
Purple Rose of Cairo.
Right. And who was cast in that originally? And
Michael Keaton was cast in that. And he was cast in it, and I think they'd shot for about 10 days. I know a fellow who was Woody Allen's photographer on all of his movies, and he was telling me about this at the time. And I guess Woody felt that it was a period piece, a movie set in the 40s, and he just felt that Michael's performance was too contemporary. And supposedly they parted, amicably, but you can put that in quotation marks, I think. But like you said, nobody really wants to get fired in the middle of a movie, But
the thing about it is they replaced him with Jeff Daniels,
mhm.
and Jeff Daniels, to me, he doesn't really kind of have any of that like throwback looky. That's a little bit surprising to me.
Well, you remember Jeff Daniels played Atticus Finch in the Broadway production of To Kill a Mockingbird.
Oh, he did.
Yes, and apparently he did a hell of a job with it too.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then I guess that I'm not that familiar with the movie. Is that one of Woody Allen's movies that was not? I thought I remember going to see that movie and kind of like not getting it, like not thinking, well, this is not the Woody Allen that
Woody Allen movies were sort of hit and miss. Some like Hannah and Her Sisters really stay with you, and Crimes and Misdemeanors. I think those are really great movies from his middle period. You could say, I guess. But Purple Rose of Kairos is one that I never really registered with me.
Right.
I don't even think I went to see it in the theaters.
Right.
But the other two I mentioned, I did and liked quite a bit.
Well, the whole thing of being Eric Stoltz. Imagine the roller coaster ride that you've been on when you're like, I don't know what he had done before that. He'd done the thing with Cher where you can't really see his face very much, but he must have done
such heavy makeup
a few things before that to even get that job, and kind of an up-and-coming guy. And all of a sudden he gets cast in this movie, and it's like me getting cast in The Fan, although The Fan didn't turn out to be as good as that movie, as Back to the Future. At all. I don't think I have to repeat that, but but I mean the whole, I got the Spielberg movie, I got the Zemeckis movie, the agents, the parents, his friends, and oh my God, I'm going to go shoot this movie. And to shoot it for 2 months, and then after 2 months, be told that he was being replaced, it's just got to be fucking brutal. I mean, if it had been after 2 or 3 days, it would have been a lot easier to go okay, all right. I also understand that he was and I could be wrong about this. I have no idea. And maybe Eric Stoltz could come on the podcast and say that this is bullshit that Bob Gale made up, because we know, Bob Gale had the whole thing. He's still defending the fact that they used what's his name's image in
Crispin Glover.
Crispin Glover's, still defend. We didn't do anything wrong. But I had heard, and then you start hearing stories about this, and you start hearing that he was very methody, and the whole thing about method acting. When I was a young man, I didn't really. There's a book by a guy named Stanislavski, something like that.
Stanislavski, I think.
Thank you. I'm not sure. I'm not sure you got it right either.
Yeah.
It was something like that.
Yeah.
And it was a book. It was a book about acting, and it was the one that they used in New York. What's the actor who was in The Godfather? Godfather that talked, and every time he would have
yeah. The one who plays Simon Roth, Lee Strasberg.
Yeah, Lee Strasberg, yeah.
This is the business we have chosen. I love that one.
Yeah.
I didn't ask who did it. Yeah, that's Lee Strasberg.
Yeah. Well, Lee Strasberg had this whole thing going in New York, and supposedly that's where Newman came from. That's where Brando came from. Dean,
Brando, and all those guys were.
Yeah, all of that.
Yeah.
So that was like the method. And so when I was a young actor, that was, kind of like, well, I want to do what Paul Newman did. I want to do what Brando did. I want to do with what these guys did. And it was like, okay, well, first you've got to read this book. And they brought out this book that looked about as thick as a Bible. I'm like, okay, all right. Well, I got about, I don't know, probably 6 or 7 pages into a 600-page book, and I've never really understood that. And I don't think very often, like I said, Val liked to kind of keep his accent, but he wasn't, he wasn't, call me Doc,
Yeah.
And I think most actors these days, when you get an actor who needs to be in character all the time, I think, unless you're really brilliant, really brilliant, I think most actors are kind of raising their eyes. Like, really?
I would think,
really? We got to call you. Supposedly that is something that was going on the Back to the Future set too. That he was
when they were making Marathon Man, apparently Dustin Hoffman was sort of agonizing through something like that, and in a scene with Laurence Olivier, and Olivier said to him, "Dear boy, just act."
Yeah.
How about just act?
Yeah, well, that was Dustin Hoffman staying up all night or staying up 2 nights in a row, and Laurence Olivier saying just
swatting him down.
I think Nicholas Campbell told me this story because he worked with him, and he told me the story, something about them asking him in a scene, Laurence Olivier, if he could cry during the scene, and his answer was, which eye and how many tears? Which I thought was like, okay, well, I've never been much of a blubber. I've never really been. Crying is always for me.
Which eye?
Yeah, crying for me is always like I always used to do this thing, like it's like basically you turn around, you turn your back on somebody, and then you put your head down, and then you do this with your shoulders. That was my idea of falling apart.
Squint your eyes real hard.
Yeah. But then we have Harvey Keitel too. Harvey Keitel was in Apocalypse Now, and Harvey Keitel What had Harvey? He would have done Taxi Driver by then, correct?
He'd done Taxi Driver, Mean Streets.
Main Street. Oh, yeah, okay, yeah. And he was.
I think he was in. I think he had a small part in Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore too. He had really done Scorsese movies.
And so
principally.
Coppola hires him for that movie, and Coppola has him on that movie for how long?
I think it was a couple of weeks.
I think it was a couple of weeks too. And that might have just been an offer. The thing with Eric Stoltz is, to me, they would have put him on tape or put him on film. Okay, They would have done a little test on him.
Oh, yeah.
Put him on film, and then everybody, not just Zemeckis, but like Spielberg and everybody,
and Sid Sheinberg, the
casting
studio
director,
executive,
everybody
was very
looks
much
at
involved in it. Yeah,
this is our guy. This is definitely our guy. And
It could 3 weeks.
What?
About 3 weeks he was on Mean Streets.
He was Harvey Keitel.
In Mean Street. Yeah, Harvey Keitel in Mean Streets.
Yeah, but he was
how
in
long
Mean
was he in
Streets, but he
Apocalypse
got
Now?
fired not from Mean Streets. He got fired from Apocalypse Now, not from Mean Streets. Mean Streets, he's the star of.
He's the star of Mean Streets. Yeah.
De Niro's got. I don't know if they're billed that way, but he's really the star of Mean Streets, and but De Niro's great in it. That's a great movie. So see if you can find out how long he was on Apocalypse Now. But he was on Apocalypse Now for quite a while, and I'd always heard, it just seems, he might not have had to, that's a situation where you don't audition. That's a situation where Coppola goes like, I love Harvey Keitel, I love his work, let's see if we get Harvey Keitel. I'm guessing that, Harvey Keitel did not audition for Apocalypse Now. And then...
Well, I'm seeing his involvement in Apocalypse Now was brief, lasting only about 3 weeks at the beginning of the 16-month-long principal photography.
16 months?
Yeah.
That's starting to sound like a...
like a Stanley Kubrick movie, huh?
Yeah, that was the name I was looking for. Yeah, like a Stanley Kubrick movie. I think about, Coppola's wife directed a documentary about the making of Apocalypse Now. Do you remember the name of the documentary, Jim?
I think it's called Hearts of Darkness.
Yeah. And, you
directed, principally put together by his wife, Eleanor Coppola, who was shooting a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff.
Yeah.
At that time.
I think she got credit for directing the documentary.
Yeah.
And
Coppola said of making the movie that it was sort of like the war itself. It was too big. It got out of control. It was supposed to start small, and then it just grew beyond all of our.
And there's a lot. There's footage of him with his wife shooting the footage of him going. It's a fucking disaster.
Yeah,
the whole thing is just it's a disaster. It's horrible. The whole thing is like fucking horrible.
And he hired Brando, and Brando showed up like 100 pounds overweight.
Hadn't read the book.
Hadn't read the book. Hadn't read anything, and he showed up. He's supposed to be this hard as nails Green Beret, and he
comes in at 330 pounds, and hey, yeah. But I go back. People talk about people talk about like movies aren't the same now as they used to be.
Mm-hmm.
When you think about Apocalypse Now, or you think about Taxi Driver, you think about The Godfather, or you think about those like type of movies, like there's so much fucking heart and passion, yes, but it's like just so much heart of wanting to get things right, and wanting to make something special, and the what it took out of Coppola to make that movie, Apocalypse Now. I mean,
it did,
a year and a half. You said 18 months or whatever.
16 months of production, not to mention all he went through in pre-production to try to line up a place to shoot it. Yeah,
and post, right?
For sure.
And
yes.
and there seemed to me it used to be more difficult. And I think that maybe that's why maybe movies today, some people feel, aren't like they used to be, because there just used to be more kind of grit and hard work, and we're going to get this done no matter what type of vibe to it. And then and maybe that does kind of cross over, like maybe that does kind of cross over into the movie, because now it's like, okay, well, we need a big storm, let's CGI it, that's done in a day. We don't need
I told
rain
you
machine.
I watched the documentary 50th anniversary of Jaws, and you get that same feeling that they faced enormous obstacles, but they
Right.
were determined to get on top of it because they knew they had a good movie there somewhere. If they could just tough it out and do the work, just show up every day and do the work. And these days, the joke about one of the jokes about Jaws was always that the shark never worked.
Right.
It was named after Spielberg's lawyer, Bruce, and
Right.
and Bruce never worked. Well, these days you just CGI a shark, no problem.
Yes.
No problem at all, nothing to it. But it forced on Spielberg some great movie making decisions, like don't show the shark. If the shark looks like crap and looks artificial, don't show it. Just show signs that the shark is there. Shoot from the shark's point of view in the opening attack. You never see any sign of the shark in that opening attack, and it's one of the most horrifying, things you'll see on screen. And then later with the use of those barrels to indicate where the shark is.
Yes.
So it forced on him some great filmmaking decisions. He turned adversity into advantage.
Yeah. Well, he also who did the music? John
Williams.
What?
Yeah, Williams.
John
Williams.
Yeah, John Williams. I mean, that movie without that music too.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah.
So there seems to be something about kind of getting in the dirt, getting down in the dirt, that maybe makes. Maybe there's a difference now because everybody's standing behind their monitors and nobody's really laying in the mud. Jim Cameron used to be like, he was involved in carrying stuff around and like doing the blood on people and like getting messy, getting dirty, getting he was. It can be a grind, and it can be kind of hard work. And when you take that away, and everything becomes easier, I wonder if that has any kind of effect on the final outcome of a movie. Anyway,
I don't see how it would have to. You'd think.
What else? What other were there? Didn't you tell me there were Martin Sheen had replaced another actor in another film?
Yeah, we were talking about
what
that.
was that? What film was that, Jim? And who did he? But it replaced a guy I'd never even heard of.
Well, I'm scrolling through that list
yeah.
right now, but we
Well, there's Kevin Spacey.
Oh yeah, and the Kevin Spacey thing is like.
Oh yeah, did you watch that last night? You said you might.
I meant to watch it, but I had already watched the movie that. Hell
or High Water.
Hell or High Water, and I had, I still have a 10-year-old son and a wife who likes to see me every once in a while, so I can't go hide away and watch like 4 movies in a row. And
sorry, honey, I'm doing a podcast tomorrow.
And so no, I did not watch it, but that movie was. Do you want to do me a favor, Jim? While we're talking, see if you can pull up that last statement. That the actor got replaced in
Kevin Spacey?
Kevin Spacey. Yes, thank you. Pull up that statement that he came out with about, it seems like about 3 weeks ago, and see if you can pull up that statement. And I just found that statement to be kind of quite bizarre,
Which statement is that? The other movie that Martin Sheen subbed for somebody was Departed. Some other actor had shot scenes that Martin Sheen's character plays in that movie, and for some reason he was let go, and Sheen was brought in to replace him.
I always get a kick out of the idea of I think it's who gets thrown off the roof in that movie. Is it Martin Sheen?
Is it Sheen? I
Yeah,
think it is
it is
Sheen.
Martin
Is Martin Sheen gets thrown off the roof? But I always think back to Leonardo DiCaprio, and he's like going through the script, and it's like, okay, all right, and then this happens, and all right, I get thrown off the building in front of me. I wonder how I'm gonna. Okay, well, anyway, I keep reading the script. And it kind of gets to the day where you're shooting, and you're like, okay, I'm walking down the street, and out of nowhere, a body comes flying off of like a 10-story building and lands like 4 feet in front of me and splats in front of me. As an actor, it's like, it's one that still I'm befuddled by, and I should go back and probably watch what Leonardo.
Pull up just that scene. Huh?
Yeah, I mean, because I would have just what am I supposed to do? That's the one that I probably would have sidled up to a Scorsese and said, "Listen, Marty, what do you have in mind as far as a reaction? You want something big? You want something small? Can you give me a little help here? I'm not sure exactly."
A little direction on this one, Marty. Yeah. What was it you wanted me to look up? Some statement?
Well, I wanted you to look up Kevin Spacey's statement. Kevin Spacey.
Oh, yeah.
He basically got axed from the business. The interesting thing about Kevin Spacey is they never, he went to court. That kid sued him and said that he messed around with him when he was 14 or 15 and they did a civil case. He lost. That Rappaport kid, or whatever his name was. He lost that case. Never any criminal charges against Kevin Spacey. He was a very aggressive gay guy, though. Very aggressive. And another thing that he did, which was I knew he was gay because I had my own experience with Kevin Spacey. But he was very aggressive. But another thing that Kevin Spacey did, which was really dumb, and he seems like a really, really smart guy, and obviously a great actor. But when he was in the middle of this groping and people accusing him of this and that, he had always been in the closet. He had always been I date women, and it was at the point where he was being charged with rape or something close to it that he decided to come out as being gay. And the entire, sexual misconduct. Yeah, well, I'm gay. And the entire gay community just went fuck you, man. What a fucking horrible time to bring. You could have come out a year ago. You could have come out a year from now, but you're in the middle of this sex scandal and now you come out as gay. So, but he wrote a letter, like an open letter to Hollywood, and you can't find it, Kaylin?
Is it a recent thing you said?
Yes.
I don't know exactly. A lot of what I'm looking up is him denying rumors that he's homeless.
No. This is him talking about he wants to work with Quentin Tarantino. He's right on the cusp of some people, and I just found it to be kind of like a very odd sort of. You read that, Jim, didn't you?
Yeah.
Okay, you can't find it either.
Oh yeah, here we go. I got it.
Okay, read it. Read it for
He
me.
said, "Here's
Because he got the reason we're bringing him up. Hold on to that, Jim. The reason we're bringing this up is because he got replaced in the Ridley Scott movie about Getty, and he was playing Getty, and they shot the fucking entire movie.
It was only a few weeks away from release, and he didn't get replaced because of his performance at all.
No, he got replaced because there was all this Me Too stuff
came out. Yeah, the article and I just texted it to Kaylin as well. The article says, and now nearly a decade after the allegations first surfaced, Spacey, who most recently performed at a variety show in Greece in November 15th.
In a variety show in Greece?
In Greece, yeah.
That's a hard fall from the Academy Award, standing and getting your Academy Award.
Yeah.
A variety show.
But he said he's hoping to return to Hollywood. Quote, "We are in touch with some extremely powerful people who want to put me back to work," he told the Telegraph. "And that will happen in its right time. But I will also say what I think the industry seems to be waiting is to be given permission by someone who is in some position of enormous respect and authority." And nonetheless, Spacey has taken his downfall as a learning lesson. It's been incredibly positive, he explained, to have an opportunity to stop, look at my life, ask questions. Why was I such a good villain? Why did I fit so well into a narrative that was out there? Anyway.
After
but
that statement, right after he said, talking about by someone who is in position of enormous respect and authority. So my feeling is if Martin Scorsese or Quentin Tarantino call my agent tomorrow, it will be over.
Yeah, but that's probably true. Like I said,
who wouldn't mind having Quentin Tarantino?
Yeah. There's a lot of people around that wouldn't mind it. Yeah. If Martin Scorsese or Quentin Tarantino called tomorrow, it probably would be over. That I think Quentin Tarantino was. I'm not Quentin Tarantino. I think that the director that Ridley Scott was just like kind of livid. That, like, you know, you're done with something, you're finished with it, it's ready to come out in movies in 2 weeks, and all of a sudden you can't release your movie because he can't
one
keep
of your
his hands
stars
to himself.
is persona non grata. Yeah.
And you told me that series he did was the first HBO series. That shocked me.
House of Cards. Yeah.
House of Cards was the
No,
first.
Netflix.
Netflix. That was Netflix's first big.
I believe it was. Yeah.
Wow, I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
That was a good show.
I know. It became very popular immediately, you know, and it really helped Netflix transition, because Netflix started off as like a mail order DVD operation, online DVD operation, and House of Cards was their first production, their initial production that really helped them transition into streaming, become the streaming powerhouse that they are today.
Yeah.
So,
are there any other actors that?
Dennis Hopper.
Oh yeah,
had you remember this? Yeah, he had shot some stuff on the Truman Show, and was replaced by Ed Harris.
Yeah, well, with Dennis Hopper, you can almost you can kind of go like, you almost don't need a reason. You don't need to say, well, what happened there? I mean, like, you know, who was at fault or what were the circumstances? It was Dennis Hopper, you know. So he was in the Truman Show, and Ed Harris ended up playing the role that he got fired from. Who directed that one, Jim?
I think that was one of the Australian directors, Peter
Weir.
Peter Weir, yeah. I only saw that once when it first came out. But,
did you like it?
I remember it as being a really quality movie. Yeah,
It's very good.
Yeah, I thought
very
it was.
rewatchable movie. too.
Yeah, I bet it is. I'll bet it is. I would like to do that again.
I've seen it tons of
That's one of
times.
those movies that, yeah, I'd like to see that again.
You can pretty much watch
Kind of-
anything with Jim Carrey in it. Tons of he's
Yes.
the definition of rewatchable.
Yes,
Did you
Yes.
ever watch the movie where he played Andy Kaufman?
of course.
Man on the Moon.
Man on the
Now,
Moon?
this
Yeah.
Milos Forman directed that, right? Didn't
I believe he did.
I think that might have been one of those times where method acting people on the set went, okay.
Yeah, I
you
think
keep
I was
going.
going to say, I think he kind of carried that one pretty far.
Well, listen, I think that when you have earned a certain position in the business, you can kind of, if you feel that like this is going to kind of help your performance, that you can kind of go with it. Like I said, there was, I've been around actors who well, actually not very actually not very many. Most people are like just, sitting around on the set talking to each other, and then they get up and one sticks a knife in the other one, in the scene. So I don't that whole thing is kind of gone away. But I think there's a documentary about the making of the Andy Kaufman show.
There is.
And I think that in that documentary they talk about the fact that that he was acting like Andy Kaufman, but that was acting like Andy Kaufman is just like being as unpredictable and as bizarre as you possibly act. Like, I'm going to act like Andy Kaufman and fucking climb this building and wrestle a fucking woman on top of, okay, that's like, I'm sure that Jim Carrey was asking any woman on the set if they wanted to wrestle. There's a shot of I saw a thing on Andy Kaufman yesterday. I think I was watching about Andy Kaufman, and he goes on the Letterman show. And I'm not sure, Jim, if it was in New York or if Letterman was still doing what was before he did a morning show, right?
I remember that. Yeah, he did that morning show in the summer of '80, and I got a real kick out of it. That was when I was sort of between working at ICM and Paramount, so I watched that show during that summer. And when I started working at Paramount, we brought in Rich Hall, who was one of the contributors to David Letterman's morning show, and later went on to be a guest on, or a cast member on Saturday Night Live. But we were so impressed with the show. Me and a couple of my junior Paramount colleagues were so impressed with the show and with him that we brought in Rich Hall to maybe explore any movie the opportunities that might be around. But I remember that show. I really got a kick out of it.
Well, Andy Kaufman, he went on Letterman's show originally, and he went on as almost like the Lotka character. He'd come out to do a stand-up. He'd go, I'm going to do an imitation of John Wayne, and then he would turn away and he'd turn back and go, yippee-yay. Thank you very much.
You would. I mean, he's playing like this pathetic, no talent, fellow who thought he had something, and he would say, "I'm going to do an impression of John Wayne." It would sound like that same.
Well, but what he did then, Jim, is he said, now I'm going to do an imitation of Clint Eastwood. And he'd turn away and he'd turn back and say, keep them cattles running. Thank you very much. And the crowd was kind of laughing at him. And then he goes, my final impression I want to do of Elvis. And then he turns away from the camera and he's got tearaway clothes on.
Yeah.
And he tears the clothes off.
He almost kind of brushes his hair.
And then he
too, to get a
brushes
little
his
bit.
hair, and
Yeah.
the band is going dun dun dun, dun and,
Yeah, they're doing the
and all of a
Elvis
sudden
thing.
he turns around and he does this incredible Elvis impression.
Fabulous, great Elvis impression.
Brilliant,
Just knocks.
impression.
The moves and everything. It's not just the voice, but he's got the moves and everything.
But and then I watched another one that he did where he went on, and I'm not sure if he was in New York yet or not, but he comes on stage and he looks like he hasn't slept for a couple of days. And he comes on stage and he looks just so bizarre and so kind of out of it. The audience is like laughing, like having a good time just because he's so weird and odd. And Letterman is kind of letting the laughs happen. But, Letterman would ask him a question and he would answer it with a yes or a no. And then you kind of sit there and the audience is laughing. And at one point he starts telling the audience that he didn't want them to laugh anymore and that he was broke and he didn't have any money and he needed money and he said he wanted money from the audience. And he got up and he walked towards the audience of the David Letterman show, and he was asking people for money, and people were giving him like dollar bills and quarters and stuff like that. And it, obviously it all seemed like, part of an act, except for the fact that like you could see at one point somebody from the show kind of grabbing him and like pulling him away from the audience. And David Letterman didn't seem very comfortable. David Letterman didn't seem to be in on the joke. And
wow.
Anyway, I don't know.
Well, then he had that whole bit about wrestling.
Well, yeah, wrestling and wrestling women and stuff. And then they did that thing. I think it was on Letterman too. It was on Letterman where the wrestler came in there and they faked like they slapped him.
Jammed it. Yeah.
He was he died of cancer at a young age. Is that what happened to him?
I believe it was. Yeah.
He was a bizarre.
You remember that old friend of mine from ICM mailroom days, Michael Darris.
Yeah.
Before going to ICM, he had worked as a page at NBC, and part of his time there was handling the Tonight Show. So the last time I saw him, 40 years after we had started at ICM, he pulled out. I'd never seen these before, but he pulled out this little package of what looked like business cards, about the size of a business card, with names on them like Orson Welles, Bob Hope, etc. And then when you turn them over, there's the autograph of that person.
Right.
And he explained that these little cards fit in the slots on the dressing room doors at the Tonight Show. So when the show was over, when the show would be over for a day, he would go around and pull these cards. And if the performer were still around, he would get the performer to autograph it. So he was going to do that with Andy Kaufman's card. And when he pulled it when he went to pull it, Kaufman had reversed the card in the slot and written on the back of it, "Do not disturb until 6:15. I am meditating." So he was obviously the last guy on the show that night, but I thought that was kind of funny. Everybody else just autographed their card, but he'd already written on the back of his card that he didn't want to be disturbed until 6:15, which would make him the last guest on the show.
Is there anybody else, Jim, of note that we haven't talked about that was replaced in the movie that?
Well, there were some people who were replaced as voices, but I wouldn't really, be interested in that.
That's easy to do.
Yeah. And then there are obviously examples of people who were cast in a role and changed at the last minute, but really had never shot anything.
Right.
Like Sylvester Stallone famously was going to be in Beverly Hills Cop until just a few weeks before the movie went before the cameras. And obviously it's a different movie with Sylvester Stallone than it is with Eddie Murphy.
That reminds me of Judge Reinhold. I've talked to Judge before and said, like, I've got to next year, starting next year, this is my New Year's resolution. I'm going to really pound down on the fact of getting guests on here who have told me that they were going to do this and be able to get like emails out. And I plan on just putting emails out to all the big agents in town and just saying, the show's starting to come along, and sometimes we get 20,000 or, depending on who we have on. And if you have a client that's got a movie that's coming out and they live in LA, or even if they don't live in LA, if they want to promote the movie, you're going to get, 5 or 10 or 20, depending on how controversial. The more controversial you are, the more you can like out somebody else's bad behavior. You can get 100,000 views.
Gifts on somebody else, and we can start getting clicks. Yeah.
Well, what's interesting is that Mark Ralston, basically, when he was on, he had a number of stories, and he was. Kind of dissing Jack Nicholson, and because he didn't have Jack Nicholson's the greatest person in the world vibe.
I feel like I remember him doing a little bit of that. The clip that I cut is, I think he was very annoyed that Jack was trying to fuck with his death scene.
Yes,
but I feel like there was a little bit before that where he was still giving his respects to working with him.
Well,
if I remember it right.
He might have been. But the point that I wanted to make was last night I watched Ray Winston. And Ray Winston and look up his credits. Ray Winston
What's that English gangster movie he did?
Great.
Sexy Beast.
Sexy Beast.
That's
a
great.
And Ben Kingsley, my God, what
that's
a
a great
role
movie.
for Kingsley. I love that movie.
Well, okay, let's go back.
And I don't recall seeing Ray Winston in anything before that. I may have, but that movie made a real impact on me, and I wasn't surprised to see him, getting cast in other things like Departed.
Well, there is now footage out there of Ray Winston saying, "Well, Jack Nicholson, it's just not my cup of tea. I just, I didn't. I don't know. We didn't." Well, could you talk about it a little bit more? What was, I didn't, just not my cup of tea. He kept saying that over again. Just not my, he didn't want to say, but if you watch the movie, you have a great actor like Ray Winston. And if I was, and of course, like, if I'm in a movie and I have somebody that is as talented as Ray Winston, if I'm Jack Nicholson, then like I want to bring him into the movie, and I want to bring him and I want the movie to be better by having a relationship with him that shows Ray Winston at his best, at what he does best, which he's a great actor. And if you watch the movie, he doesn't really do much in the movie. He's kind of in the background a lot. He's not a person that you look at in that movie and go like,
no, he's a sidekick more than
I know, but you can be you can be Eddie Murphy's sidekick, and you can be Nick Nolte. You can be a sidekick, but instead of being a sidekick who was kind of interesting or fun or stuff that you would bounce stuff off of back and forth. Ray Winston is kind of lost in that movie. He's just kind of standing behind Jack Nicholson the entire movie, and I have a feeling.
It also doesn't help that that's just an all-star ensemble cast right there. I mean, to even get kind of extra attention from that. Leo, it's Sheen,
but
it's
anytime you're on Jack Nicholson, he could have thrown in a line. He could have thrown in. Now, believe me. And
hey, if we're going off what Ralston was saying, apparently Jack Nicholson was rewriting that movie on his own. So maybe Winston had even more parts or more lines, and he was right.
That's the feel, and I don't know.
Yeah.
I just watched Ray Winston yesterday, going, not really my cup of tea. I didn't really. He's not Jack Nicholson. I don't. I don't really. Not my cup of tea. And the reason I feel that he feels that way is that, you don't cast somebody like that in a role and then dismiss him and not give him anything to do. Everybody was, there were a lot of great performances in it. But anyway, that's
Did you know Ray was in Frank Rodham's early movie Quadrophenia?
No, I
Yeah,
didn't.
that's one of his earliest credits.
Oh no,
Yeah.
no, I didn't. He's not in Nail by Mouth,
Yes.
right? He is.
He
in
is.
Nail by
Yes,
Mouth.
he is.
Oh, he's incredible in Nail by Mouth.
Yeah, he
He's
is, 'cause I saw that not
absolutely
long ago.
brilliant in that movie, and again, when you have somebody like that, you bring them on the set, and as an actor, it's kind of what I did. I was able to do with Adam Wingard. I was able to go, what about this and what about that? You kind of like, if you're good at what you're doing and if you're coming up with good ideas and good dialogue, you're able to kind of like take a character and make more out of that character than kind of what's on the page. That's why directors hire actors. That's why, that's why Nicholson says, I wouldn't have gotten as far as I did if I didn't know how to write,
Yeah.
But anyway, I just thought it was interesting that Mark, so anyway, Mark got a lot of hits, and Mark's probably got 60 or 70, 80,000 people that have listened to Mark talk about Jack Nicholson on this podcast. And that's why we had to cut, and we did it as a favor to Mark, because Mark... Okay.
They'll figure it out.
Well, I'm not going to say what he said. I'm just going to say...
No, I know. Oh, let's just
don't say anything?
No.
Okay.
It's a favor to Mark. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Okay.
I'll just kind of say it was. He asked us to cut, so we did. But I think that's why everyone loved Mark. Is he talked his shit, and that was like he talked shit on Al Pacino too. He had a lot to say about working for Al Pacino.
Yeah. Okay. I wasn't going to say what he said.
I know.
Okay. All right. Well, listen.
The internet's good at figuring shit out.
Yeah. No secret.
And AI is probably even better than that.
Yeah, exactly. AI knows already. Yeah.
All right, Jim. Well, I think we've gone through all the poor souls that never got a chance to play their roles. That was a.
There is one more that is heartbreaking. But he's not a big name. I don't even really know him. Stuart Townsend was originally supposed to play Aragorn in Lord of the Rings, which then went to Viggo Mortensen, which was just the biggest role ever.
Yeah.
Did he shoot?
Well,
I think they had done like principal photography or whatever, and I don't think they had shot anything yet before Peter Jackson realized he didn't have the gravitas that the role required. So I don't think he had shot anything yet, but yes, that would have been just a heartbreaking role to lose.
What's his name?
Stuart Townsend.
Do you know who that is, Jim?
No, that's almost like a Timmy Colseri story, though. To
yes, yeah,
rehearse so long right up until the eve of production, or of your part of the movie, and then to have the role snatched away from you at the very end like that. So,
yeah. All right. Well, I think that is probably enough of me.
We're going to get a report from you next on
the day
on the Avatar movie, right?
Yeah.
Get an initial response
a week from
you. So
I'll be
forward to
talking
that.
about Avatar and the 3D and what I saw and then it won't be too long after that. I've got to go back to Doug now and make sure
Get him lined up. Yeah,
he's good for that date. I asked him if he was still coming into town for his dentures, and instead of writing, "Yeah, I'll be there," and he lost this week, so he's back up. He owes me $1,000 now.
You better come out here and do it.
It's either come out here or pay me the $1,000. So I'll check in with him this week, and hopefully we can have him nailed down. He's such a, I just wanted to say also about Doug. Doug is somebody that I adored, looked up to, just thought was brilliant, and was really excited about meeting him. Like, to me, he's like a movie star, sort of, I was so excited about meeting him, and I was so in awe of his talent. Now he's gotten to be a friend, and now it's kind of like just back and forth. But I see now a whole new group of young comedians coming up and stuff. But I really cherish that friendship that I have with Doug.
His Audible book, No Encore for the Donkey, is well worth listening to as well. I got a real kick out of that.
Yeah, he's a good friend, and it's always nice to have somebody who, whenever you talk to, they see life from a slightly different angle.
Oh, he does.
And it just makes me laugh. It just always makes me laugh, and sardonically, and mostly, taking the piss out of me. Mostly, he's like making fun of me, But he's having a hard time these days, being down $1,000 on NFL football. Our next game is the Bears. Where the Bears playing the Green Bay Packers next week. And I've probably been through this, so I'll just say it very quickly, and then we'll go. Is that I was a Bears fan when I was a kid. Have I told this story on the podcast? Yeah, I have?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, well, I was a Bears fan, and then...
but it's a giant game coming up because the Bears are on an unbelievable season, 9-3.
Yeah,
Green Bay is very good, but still, I think people thought they'd be a little bit better, but this is, I think maybe the most heated rivalry in the NFL,
well,
and they're going to Lambeau.
They were like the first two NFL teams.
They were, yeah.
And I go back to loving them because of Dick Butkus, and I got an autograph picture of a guy named Bill George, who turned out to be an All-Pro, and I was a Chicago fan for years and years and years, and at that point they were terrible. And in 1980. I went to London to shoot Aliens, and nobody liked the Bears. Like, the Bears were like nothing. Then I went to shoot Aliens, and that was the year that they won the Super Bowl. That was the year of the Super Bowl Shuffle. Jim McMahon, Refrigerator Perry. The whole fucking country fell in love with them.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, so when I got back, I kind of felt like, fuck, like now everybody loves them, and now, like me being a Bears fan. So that's when I kind of went into being a Raiders fan. And then when they called the Tuck rule on the Raiders, then I was like, fuck this all. I don't have a team anymore. And I haven't had a team. But now that Chicago's having I'm always kind of pulling for Chicago, but they've been pretty bad again for like the last 10 years.
Oh, yeah.
But now that they've I'm kind of jumping on their bandwagon, and they're probably not quite as good as their record, but they've certainly played well this weekend. I saw that game, and that's a good game to watch. All right, Jim. Well, has it gotten any warmer up there, or are you still in 40-degree weather?
We're in the 40s. It's not going to top 50 for a while. 43 right now.
You're going to go out with your little walker and take a little mile stroll?
I'm going to, with about 4 layers of clothing on, yeah.
Well, good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you. All right, well, I'll let everybody know as soon as I get back on what Avatar looks like, and look forward to talking to Jim and getting Stanhope on. And I'm going to make a really effort, instead of having Jennifer do it, I'm going to really make an effort now to get guests in and get good guests in, and people that'll be fun. I'm going to see Randy Quaid this weekend, so Randy's a very nice guy, not as crazy as, if you talk to Randy Quaid, a lot of the stuff that was written about him and his wife was kind of media driven. I'd love to get Randy Quaid to talk.
I'd love to talk to him too. He was in a really crazy Jack Nicholson movie called The Missouri Breaks.
Yeah. And the other Jack Nicholson movie that he was so wonderful in.
Last Detail.
Last Detail is, God, what a great movie. Okay, Jim, thank you very much.
You got it, man.
Kaylin, I love you.
Love you too.
And I will we'll talk again soon. And Jim, I'll probably be talking to you again.
I'm sure.
All right, man. Thank you.
You got it. You got it.